News OK, I'm Dave Morris at the Cox Convention Center for the State of the City address. Mayor Mick Cornett gave his 9th State of the City address, this time before a record crowd of 1,500. Among the variety of lists Mayor Mick Cornett went through, where Oklahoma City ranks in health, which is improving from fattest to healthiest, and the Oklahoma City Thunder ranking among the top sports franchises in the nation. Here are some of the highlights from this afternoon's address, and you can find the entire address online at newsok.com.
It's interesting to reflect back on what was accomplished in 2012 and what was not accomplished in 2012. For instance, I was thinking that 2012 would be the year that I convinced my mother she might be happier if she left her house and moved into a retirement center. And I note that although that was a goal of mine, at the end of the year, not only was she still in her house, but that she had bought new carpet. The takeaway there is that some goals get accomplished, some don't, and you just push them forward into the next calendar year. We are building new schools, we are building new modes of transportation, we are expanding our roads, we are welcoming in new retailers that did not consider us before. Our per capita income is going up, which should help us in a lot of the traditional areas where we have struggled, like health and education. But with all of that growth and all of that good news, there are growing problems. It feels to me like domestic violence is increasing. We know from the numbers that our homicide rate is going up. Difficult to tell always about the number of homeless in our city, and we appear to have the resources to address it, but it doesn't appear to be getting better. There's a lot of people in our community that are in some level of need. On Christmas Day, we served over 2,000 people at the Red Andrews Christmas dinner. So this early takeaway for you is so much has been accomplished, yet there is so much more for us to do. Our employment growth rate is twice the national average. The leading sectors are energy, professional services, and retail trade. Each of those three sectors is growing at a better than 7% annual clip. Our growth in jobs is one of the largest in the country. We are set up to succeed in that area, but going forward, if we're going to continue this momentum on the job relocation front, it's going to be critical that we continue to look and prepare sites that are appropriate for businesses that are looking to relocate or expand into Oklahoma City. The city and the chamber are going to need to be actively involved in getting these sites ready so we can take advantage of all the opportunities that we're going to have. A couple of other notes. In October, ESPN ranked the top franchise in professional sports. They included all the baseball teams, all the football teams, all the basketball teams, all the hockey teams, 122 major league sports teams in all. They looked at performance on the field, but they also looked at fan appreciation, the team's commitment to the community, and also the quality of the ownership group. The #1 franchise in all of professional sports is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah. I mentioned earlier that our revenue at City Hall comes largely from sales tax. The next obvious question you might have is, well, what do you spend it on? Well, it's a pretty easy answer for us. 2/3 of our general fund revenue is spent on public safety. The largest amount goes to police. The second largest amount goes to the fire department. Now, over the year, we have invested in a lot of firefighting equipment, and it is starting to pay off. There's an organization that judges a fire department's ability to put out fires in rural parts of the city. The last time we went through this testing procedure was 20 years ago. Since then, we've invested in heavy water tanks, we've improved our communications, and we've also improved on the way we coordinate with the other fire departments in the municipal areas. The results of the testing procedure a few months ago showed dramatic improvement in our ability to put out fires in the rural areas. What that means to you is that it should be lowering insurance rates for those who choose to live in the rural parts of the city. As for police, you are well aware of our commitment to fight crime. We have a policy of no tolerance for crime. But in 2012, our homicide rate went up sharply where it had been the past 2 years. That said, nowhere near where we were back in the late 1970s when it was at an all-time high. In 1979, we had a homicide rate of 25 per 100,000 citizens. This year, we were closer to 16, so it's a 35% betterment in the homicide rate from 1979. But simply put, regardless of the numbers, your citizens have to feel safe in their own neighborhoods. You also know of our commitment to combat gang violence. It is a priority of ours. And to that end, we have been active in 3 distinct areas. Number 1, predictive analytics to help us understand where crime is going to occur. Number 2, community engagement, which asks people inside the community to help us identify criminal activity before it escalates out of control. And number 3, youth intervention, which can take on a lot of different forms. For instance, you may not be aware of a program our police department has been working on the past few years. It has to do with truancy in our schools. In 2010, the City Council and I passed an ordinance that tightened up our efforts to keep kids in school, and at the same time, we entered into an agreement with the school systems that empowered everyone involved in this effort. So you may ask, how can you afford to allocate police officers to truancy when you have so many other important things going on? Well, I think the answer is this. Quite simply, if we allow a kid to drop out of school, there's a high likelihood he's going to be interacting with our police department 6 months from now. There's no question that a kid enrolled in school is much more likely to stay out of trouble than a kid that drops out of school. We've now been doing this long enough to report some results. Since 2009, we've had a total of 15,601 students that have been contacted by our police as a result of our truancy efforts. And in Oklahoma City Public Schools, we have an overall reduction in truancy of 45%. 2013 is going to be a very big year for Maps for Kids. At the end of this year, there's going to be fundamentally just 2 projects left. The downtown grade school, construction should begin this spring. We expect students to be in this building in the fall of 2014. And then we'll start working on the administration building, which is the final project in Maps for Kids. And we're in the process right now of helping the district determine the best site. Obviously, not everyone is thriving in our community. And even though our employment rate is extremely low at 4%, if you're one of the 4%, things could be better for you. But while we work on our problems through our businesses and our city and county programs, through our churches and other charities, we have not stopped investing in ourselves, and we have not stopped planning for future generations. We're building parks, we're building bike trails, we're building a new streetcar system, we're building hundreds of miles of new sidewalks. We have simply raised the standards of what's acceptable in the city of Oklahoma City. We're also seeing the results of our campaign on fitness starting to show up in health rankings. For instance, Men's Fitness magazine, which annually produces a ranking of what they term the fattest cities in America, issued their list again. But this year was different. It was the very first time we weren't on it. And believe it or not, they also put out a list of the healthiest cities in America, and we were on it. We were number 23 on Men's Fitness list of the healthiest cities in the country. On the health front, you may remember a year ago, we reached our milestone when our obesity awareness campaign, known as This City is Going on a Diet, reached its goal of 1 million pounds lost. In the end, over 47,000 of us were involved in the process. That's over 20 pounds apiece for 47,000 people. And one other number I want to pass along comes from our Public Works Department. In 2012, they repaired 81,000 potholes. Can you imagine? That is over 200 per day. The convention center is the biggest project. The site has been selected. We are in negotiations to buy the property. And we're also having a strong coordinated effort between the people that are working on the convention center and those that are also working on the park and the boulevard and the streetcar. You know, it's going to be hard for 2013 to match 2012, but I have a feeling you all are not going to let me down. Thank you so much for what you're doing in the city. You are making this a great place to live and to work. Mom, your new carpet looks great. I'm so inspired by that. Thank you, Godspeed, and God bless you all.